Right, so welcome back to a new Bitwig guide, and in this one we need to talk about audio expressions, the ones we have right here at the bottom. And yes, we will talk about the spread, and we will talk about seed and histogram. So if you like all of this, remember to like and subscribe, and if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can just go to the links at the description. Okay, so let's start with the easy part, which is going to be the expressions that we have right here. Now you have a lot of options when you double click on a clip, and how the clip is going to sound. It's going to be like that. It's just a very simple clip. Now, when you double click it, it's going to take you to either the track or the clip view. Now, you can work on both, on track and clip, but in this case, I'm just going to stay on the clip view. Now, right here, you have the audio event, which is this one. You can do comping. That's a different topic. We have a stretch and onsets, and they belong to the expressions world, but I'm going to be covering this on a different video because we need to, talk about how we stretch, all the onsets and you do cutting. So it's going to take a little while. So I'm going to just much prefer to cover this on a very specific video. On this one, we will talk about the four options that we get at the bottom, then the stretch, the histogram, the seed, and how can we randomize all of this. Now we're going to start easy. The first one is the gain. This one we have right here. So how this works, it's actually very simple. This works like in automation style. You just create breakpoints and this will go up or down. It depends on what you have right here. In this case, it's going to be gain. So this is going to go up and down in gain. And what we do, we just create breaking points with the mouse. You can use a pen tool if you wish. In my case, I'm just going to create breaking points with the mouse. And then you just, maybe go up and just it's going to go up in gain. And right there at the bottom, at the back, it's just telling you what it's doing, right? So you have a visual, very visual reference. And then maybe I'm going to go up and then maybe I'm going to be going down like that. So that's it. This is like, what it does. It's automation style with the gain, but we are working this on a clip instance. So if I play this back, it goes up, goes down, then, we get the automation. Now, just like the automation, we can go and stand right here on the line and do Alt, and this will give us the different curves. We can go this, do something like this, and then maybe go down, and then maybe do something like that, just like we do with automation. So this is something, pretty simple. So if you want to reset the curve, same, go to Alt and double click and it's going to reset the curve to whatever is that you want. Maybe I made a mistake on that one. And if you want to delete the breakpoint, you just need to go double click and you are going to be removing the breakpoints. Again, this works like when we work with automation. Now, you do have something else. If I maybe add a couple more and I do, pretty much the same thing, something like that, or maybe something like that. When you go to the clip in the left side of the screen, right here is going to give you a reference to the audio event. So right here at the bottom, you will have the panel for the expressions. And you have a gain, you have a pan, and you have a pitch. So you can see it right there. So this one, the gain, is kind of an average. It says right there, average, and that's a good word for it. You can go up and you can go down, but this will go up and down for all the markers, for all the breakpoints. Pretty understandable. Now, then you have something called spread. We're going to talk about this in a minute. But what it does, it's pretty simple. It's just going to manage the gain. If you want to go back to 0 dBs, you just do Alt and click and it's going to go to 0 dBs. All right, so that's it. No, it's pretty simple. I'm going to delete this. I don't need it because now we need to do the pan. And for this one, you might want to use good, maybe monitors, something like that, or maybe good headphones. Yeah. So I'm going to make a couple breakpoints. I'm going to go up and then I'm going to go down and we can do something like this. Just automation style, and then go up like this. And then I'm going to go down. Why not? Maybe back to the center. So since we are working with the pan, this is just going to go from the left to the right. And right here on the left side, you get an indication of where you are. So it's saying R, then center, and then L, which is left. And if I play it, it's going to go to the right, and then it's going to go, to center. It's pretty simple and understandable. And how this works in terms of the curves is the same thing. You just do Alt and you can manage your curves like, like so. Now, still, if I click this and I go to the pan now, we can maybe move the pan around and just adjust, the whole thing. If I play it, we get something different, right? So pretty simple. Now let's do the pitch. Now the pitch is a little bit different. We need to do a little bit more talking right here. Because you can go up and you can see right there 0, and you can go up in semitones right here. You get plus 12 and then more, and then you get minus 12 and then more. So you can go up, 1 octave, 2 octaves, and so on. Now the thing is that sometimes with some, with these options, you're gonna get something like this. And if I start drawing points, something like that, let me just show you. I'm gonna go maybe up a semitone, an octave, and notice it moves in semitones, and it's giving you the value right there. So you can go up, and then at some point, maybe you can make a breakpoint, go down a couple of semitones, and then maybe go back to the original. Now, if I play this, we are getting the pan. So let me just adjust the pan. There we go. So if I go back to pitch and I play it, can you hear the difference in pitch? So there's no change in pitch. Now, on this one, you need to make sure that the mode that you're using is one of these modes and it's not the raw. Now, raw, it means that it will not do stretching. It's unstretched. Now, you could do repitch, but you have other options, and all these other options will do different things. And on the names, it will tell you what it will do. For example, cyclic is going to say retro stretching inspired by classic samplers. So now you know that this stretching is, classic samplers. But then it tells you formant controls with grain length. So the last part is going to be really useful because this is how you're going to be using some of these features. Now, the best one, it's going to be Elastic Pro. That's the best thing you get for stretching on Bitwig. I'm going to be using that one. All right, so now when you turn it on and you're doing some stretching, notice that the pitch, looks alive. Now we don't have a grayed out breaking points. So now if I do it, then it's going to work. So if you were working on raw, well, it's just, you're not going to get it. It's just not going to do it. So the other modes will give you different sounds when you just, do something like this. Let me go to this one. I'm going to go and play it. It sounds very different, right? So yeah, it's completely different because, it does a different thing. So you need to kind of choose your poison right here. In my case, I always use Elastic Pro unless I want something very specific, but this one is the best for me. Now, another thing that is happening when you enable some of this, for example, I'm going to go to raw. At the bottom, the pitch is disabled, so you cannot work with pitch. Of course, because you cannot. But when you go to Elastic Pro, for example, this is going to tell you, or it's going to give you our point of reference. And just like we did with the other ones, we can go right here up, and it's just going to go up very slowly, or we can go down and adjust pretty much the whole damn thing. Let me adjust it just like there. Now, since we can go up in semitones, you can go plus up and keep going up, or just keep going down in semitones. Now, let me just grab everything and I'm going to put it right here, right in the spot right here. So we can still do curves just like we did with the other ones. And this one, it's just going to sound a little bit better. The transition is going to be a little bit better. Right? So another thing that you can do is like, for example, right now we can move in semitones. What if you don't want to move in semitones? Well, if you can, and all of these controls, you can do them, by selecting a breaking point. You don't need to select everything. In this case, I'm just going to select pretty much everything. And if I move up, I'm going in semitones, but maybe I don't want to. So what you can do, you can hold the shift, and now it's not going to move in semitones, and we can see the sense right there. So you can, if you want, adjust to whatever it is that you want, and it will disable that snapping, in semitones that we have. And it will also disable the snapping when I move to the next ones. All right, so that's it pretty much. This topic is pretty simple. It's going to get a little bit more complicated. I want to say complicated, a little bit harder to explain when we reach the formant, the spread, and the histogram, and all of that. Okay, so let's dive into the formant. I'm going to be deleting all of this. So the formant, it's something very specific that we get when we stretch in this case, and it's how it's going to alter some frequencies. Now, not all the types, the modes that we use can work with formant. This one, Elastic Pro, It can. And notice that you can, you can change it right here. But right there, some other modes will just not work with Formant. So some other modes will just not do it. For example, let me just first show you how it sounds with the Formant. So if I go to Formant and I maybe add something right here, I do something. I'm going to go up, something like that, maybe like that. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to go up again. So this is, it's going to show us what it can do. And it's going to be pretty obvious. You will hear it. There you go. Okay. So now I'm going to be playing this. Let me just go to the clip and play it. So as you can see, it's completely different from pitch. It's a completely different thing. So if I play again, and I stay up. So this is what the Formant will do when you modulate it like this. And of course, we can do the curves just like we did with the other one and make a better transition, just like we did with the other expressions. Let me do it again. Now, the question is how, this is going to work? Well, it depends on the mode. If I go right there and I go to Elastic Pro, it says transient preserving spectral stretching with Formant control. So I know that I can use the Formant. Other types, other modes cannot use Formant because they have no Formant control. For example, if I go to cyclic, the one we used before, it says retro stretching inspired classic samplers, blah, blah, blah. And then it says Formant controls the grain length. So if I select this one and I try to use the Formant, we can't draw something, but you will not be working with the Formant. You're just going to work with the grain length. So you're not going to get the same result, right? So it depends on the mode that you select, really. Some other options, for example, the stretch, they cannot work with Formant. So as soon as you select it, and this is kind of a grayed out, so you instantly know that the Formant, will not do anything. So now when you do this, when you modulate the pitch and the Formant with the expressions, you need to be really aware of which mode you are using. Again, my favorite's just this one. And just like the other ones right here, you get the Formant control. So if I just change this is going to move shift it or it's going to shift it up. Depends on what you're doing right here. Now, I believe all of this is just very simple to understand. It's just like a modulation that we get, the expressions. Now, there's something a little bit more fun, which is going to be the spread. Then if I go and select the clip, we have something called seed. And this is really, really fun. So let's talk about this. Okay, so I'm back to the beginning with the clip. So I'm not doing anything. Now what I will do, I will just make the clip a little bit shorter, just like this. And I'm going to be looping this like this. So if I play it back, it's just going to go all the way right here. It's going to end and then restart, right? So we need to talk about that spread, and it's really, really cool. Now, I will do it on the pan and make sure, again, you're using some headphones or maybe some speakers, because if you're doing this from your phone maybe has no speaker, stereo capabilities. So it's going to sound a little bit weird because you're going to be listening on mono. So I'm going to go to the pan. We are doing some breakpoints, but we are not moving anything. So everything's just going to sound the same. Now, when you go to this control right here at the bottom, you get this pan and you get this spread. So if I go up and I keep going up, notice that you have some blue, marks right there on each breakpoint. And it goes to negatives and it goes to positives. In this case, it's going to be left or right. And as you keep going up and up and up, just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So this what it will do. It will give us some random values every time that we loop the clip. So if I play it, notice it's random round. And every time it loops, it's going to give us a different value. Now, this is going to listen to the clip length to generate a random value. Right. So this is what it does. It will just keep giving us random values every time it loops. Pretty simple. So that is going to be the spread. Now we have layers to this. Now I'm going really aggressive on this one. I'm going to go all the way down. Now you can do spread on single tiny breakpoints. So if I go here and I stand right there and I do Alt, I'm going to be moving this and it's going to let me to adjust how aggressive that spread is going to be. Maybe I want this to be very short. Maybe I want this one to be super wide. This one maybe super short, and this one is going to be super wide. So now when it's going to randomize this is like the threshold of the randomization. So yeah, you can manage this, or you can create a more controlled randomization, or random behavior. There you go. Now still, if you move this, it's going to move around the position of the breakpoint. So if I go and put it right there, this is still going to go to the right side, and it will do the randomization. So that's what it is. That's the spread function. Now, if you want to remove it, you just need again to go to the Alt and go all the way down, and you can do it by selecting Alt and going all the way down on all. So what if you don't like this behavior? Like, getting a random thing every time that it loops. Because that's what it's doing when we go to here and we do the spread. It's just going to get something random every time that we loop, and we know this. Maybe you don't want this, because maybe you just played something and you say, oh, I really like that and I want to keep it. But you can't, because it's just going to go and give you a random thing every time it loops. And this is the way it works. Now, then you have the seed. Now, the seed is the one that it's deciding this behavior right here. And when you go to seed, you select the clip first. It's going to say seed, and then it says random. So it's just going to give you a random value. This is what it means. But if you click right here, you're getting out of the random and you're ending or kind of entering in the more pattern kind of a mode. It's still random, but it's just a little bit more controllable. So now if I play it and it keeps playing, it's not going to be changing the values. Now, if you stop, it's going to show you something else. But if you play it back, you're still on the same pattern, right? If I stop it and then go back, you still have the same pattern. You just don't lose it when you play back. And every time that it loops, you're stuck on the same pattern. Now, if you don't like this, you just go right here to the same control and you click it, and it's going to give you something else. And you just keep clicking until you get something that you like. Maybe something like this. Maybe you like this and I want to keep it. Again, if you stop it, it's going to show you something else or not, but you keep it, right? Okay, now the question is, what is going to happen with all the other options? The gain, the pitch, and the formant. Because right now we are just doing a little bit of randomization, and this is applying it on all. It's not just doing it on the pan. So if I go right here to the gain and I do something right there, and I do the same trick, like, going up and down, I'm going to go to the gain and do some spread right there. This pattern, it's just reactive to whatever we are doing right here. Maybe I'm doing too much. I'm going to do something like that. So this, the seed, the pattern, is just creating something for the gain, but also is just doing it for the pan. So maybe I like what we had on the pan, but just I don't like what we have on the gain. And that's completely fine. Now, how can you fix this problem? Because maybe you want to keep the pan and not the gain. So I'm going to go to the gain. I'm going to do nothing. And if you do no spread on the gain, this, will not affect it. We are just doing it on the pan. So the way we do it is by consolidating the clip. If I like the pan, okay, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to go to consolidate. And once you do so, it's going to write that automation in your actual clip. So you just get it right there. So now if I play it, we keep it and it's stored as an automation as an expression for your pan. Now, we can go to the gain now and do the same trick. I'm going to go to the gain and maybe go to right here and do some spread. And the pattern is just going to give me something like this. And again, if I like it, then I go right here and I consolidate. And it's just going to write the automation. What if I wanted to do it with pitch? Well, same thing. We can go to pitch, do some spread right here. Well, we need some breakpoints. There we go. Something, something random. And I'm going to go to pitch and I'm going to do the same thing. And it's kind of doing it. It's going to sound really weird, but it's doing it. Right. So if I want to keep this, remember, you just go to consolidate. Let me just do this. I want to keep this. I'm going to go to consolidate right here. So there you go. It's just stored within the clip, the expression now. So yeah, this is a super useful thing because now you have a little, just another tool to do a little bit of more experimentation and randomization. Now, all these expressions work great right here on audio. Where they really shine, in my opinion, is on MIDI. But we are going to be talking about, the expressions and MIDI on the next video. Now, you have something called histogram. If you select one single clip and you go to expressions and gain and you open up, it says spread. Sometimes you see something called histogram. You're not going to get it if you're selecting a single event. Same if I go right there and I select this event and I go to gain maybe, I'm not going to get it. So the thing is that the histogram works as a whole control, like a main controller of multiple or several events. So if you have a single event or you're selecting a single event, you're not going to get it. You're just going to get this spread. Now you can do this with breakpoints, or you can do this when you split the clip on several parts, for example. Now let me just bring some other sound. Let me bring something a little bit more predictable. All right, so I have something more predictable right here. If I play, this is what we get. Right. So again, just like we discussed earlier, if I select a single event, we are not going to get that histogram, right? So what we can do, we can maybe chop the audio on different parts, and then we will have multiple events. If I go and add many breakpoints and I select them all, then we are going to get the histogram. So let's do the other one first, because it's just going to be a little bit easier to understand, and then we're gonna maybe do the breakpoints. So I'm going to go to the pan, and what I will do, I will chop this on different parts. I'm going to go to the slice tool and I'm going to start slicing on the different intervals. So we are just going to be getting a bunch of things, right? So now we have a lot of things inside the clip are, different audio events. So you have this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So now the thing is that if I select maybe a portion of this, maybe this, now I'm selecting multiple things. We have 12 audio events selected. So now, if I go to the pan, I get the histogram. Because the histogram, again, works as a whole. It's going to control a bunch of different breakpoints or events in this case. Now, the main point of the histogram is that it's going to give us some options right here to control this randomization a little bit better. So if I go to chaos, chaos is going to be how, chaotic is going to be the randomization. Now, I'm dragging and holding my mouse, the left click, I'm going up. Now, once you release it, it's going to go back to 0. So this doesn't mean that, that 100% is just going to stay at 100% or maybe 20%. This means that it's just going to give you that chaos and then it's go back to 0. And then you have these values. So then if you do chaos again, it's going to be reactive to whatever values you have from before. Same thing. And, if I keep going, it's just a way to get random values, just like this. And at some point, it's going to keep going down. Sorry for that, but, it's just Windows. And yeah, that's what you get with the chaos. Now, then you have the mean. So the mean, it's going to go down in maybe whatever value you have right here is going to go up or down. Now, since we are working with pan, it's going to go all the way to the left or all the way to the right. So now we have something random right here, right? Okay, so I'm going to go to the mean and I'm going to go all the way up. So this is kind of shifting all the things to the right side. And if I go to the negatives side, it's going to shift all the things to the left side. So the mean is going to be controlling this. Now, you cannot argue that this is just a little bit too aggressive. Just a little bit too aggressive. If I play it, it's just maybe a little bit too much, right? And maybe I'm gonna be looping this right here. Just jumping all over the place, which is fine. We'll go back to the pan right here, and we have the scale. Now, maybe if this is too aggressive, all of these values are going to be relative to the scale. So I can scale it up and make it even more aggressive, or I can just scale it down. And everything is just going to be a little bit more together, let's say. Now, if you take a look at right here, this is giving you a representation of what you're doing. I can still maybe adjust the values. Maybe I like it a little bit more, but maybe I want a little bit more chaos. I'm just going to, adjust the chaos. then again do the mean if I want to, and just like this, you just adjust your different values just to get something else. That's how it works. But the trick is that you need to remember that you need to select a bunch of events or breakpoints. If not, it's just not going to work. You're not going to get a histogram. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to no, just maybe a single audio event, no clips, just one single thing. So this also works when you're working with something else. Now, if you go to gain, pan, pitch, and formant, and maybe I'm going to go to pitch because, no, maybe to pan. It's, obvious. So I'm going to add a breakpoint right here, I'm going to add one here, and then one there, and there we go. Just something simple. So every time you do select a breakpoint, at the very top and at the left is going to be talking about that point that you're adding. It says point, you can change the position, the value, which is going to be, the value up or down, pretty simple. But then you have a dedicated control for the spread. So you can go up in spread or down in spread. Now, since we are talking about the histogram, what happens if I select multiple breakpoints? If I select multiple breakpoints, now we have that rule. We are selecting multiple things, so we can adjust the values with the histogram, and we can introduce the mean, the scale, and the chaos. So if I do chaos, it's going to give us just that, just a little bit of chaos. And again, with the mean, we can go to this side or the other side. And with the scale, which is going to be scaling down or scaling up. Right? Pretty understandable now. And you can do really cool things. And still, you can use the spread if you wish. And the spread is going to give you a histogram as well. But, in this case, I'm just going to go up in spread. And this will give us, something else. So you have a lot of tools just to introduce a little bit of some sugar, something a little bit special. All right, so hopefully you learned something on this one, and you liked the guide. And remember, if you liked it, to like and subscribe, of course. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can go to the links at the description. You have PayPal, you have Patreon, and if you want to be 1 month patron and buy me a coffee, that's fine. And I guess you have the YouTube thanks as well at the bottom. And the next video is going to be about the same thing, but with MIDI. And it's going to be a little bit longer and complicated because we have a lot more options for expressions. All right, so see you on the next one.